The night I came home from my shift, the street felt different. It was the kind of silence that doesn't just settle, it waits. My house stood at the end of the lane, porch light flickering lazily like it was tired of warning me. I didn't notice it right away. I walked past the mailbox, past the cracked pavement I kept promising myself I'd fix, and only when I reached the door did my eyes freeze. The numbers. My house was 237. But now it read 239, the metal still warm to the touch, the adhesive fresh as if someone had just pressed it on and walked away. At first, I thought maybe I had the wrong house. Maybe fatigue had taken over. But then I looked to the house next to mine, the one owned by Karen. The same Karen who had reported me to the HOA 3 times in 2 months for my grass being an inch too tall, for having tools in the yard, for simply existing the way she disapproved of. Her house used to be 239. Tonight, it was 237. I unlocked my door and walked in, pretending nothing was wrong, but the feeling crawled under my skin. I replayed every moment in my mind. Had someone been watching me this whole time? Was this a joke? Or was this something deeper? My phone buzzed with a delivery attempt failed notification. Then another. And another. All addressed to 237. Except now, I wasn't 237 anymore. Not on paper. Not to the post office. Not to emergency services. I went outside and scanned the neighborhood. Everything looked the same. But everything felt wrong. I couldn't shake the sensation that someone had rearranged the world by one number. Just one number, but that meant no help would reach me in time if something happened. That meant my identity, my address, my legality, had been altered. My security cameras hadn't alerted me, but I checked them anyway. There she was. Karen. At 2:13 a.m. She walked across the lawn like she'd done it 100 times. Gloves on. Movements precise. No hesitation. She didn't look around because she already knew no one would be watching. She peeled off my numbers with a small tool, and then, she smiled. As if she had just claimed something. Like I was a board game piece she had finally moved to where she wanted. I zoomed in. In the reflections of the car window, I saw her face clearly, calm, focused, and then something strange. She wasn't looking at the numbers she was switching. She was looking directly into my security camera. Into me. The footage wasn't an accident, it was a message. Was it hate? Control? Or something even darker? 3 days passed. My mail vanished. Amazon refused to deliver. The HOA denied knowing anything. Every night I felt eyes on me. The house didn't feel like a home anymore, more like a misplaced possession. I realized then that altering house numbers wasn't just petty harassment. It was a federal offense. And it meant I finally had something stronger than suspicion. I had proof. Evidence. A felony with a face. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the numbers on my door. And I suddenly felt as if they weren't the only thing she wanted to change. I began to keep my curtains closed, but it didn't matter. I could feel her watching. When I opened the door every morning, the air felt colder, but only around her house, as if the wind itself avoided her. I never saw her directly, yet I sensed her presence on the other side of the blinds every single night. I tried to convince myself that I was imagining it, until my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Nice new numbers. 239 suits you. I stared at the message for a full minute, waiting for a follow-up or a laughing emoji to make it a joke. But nothing came. Just silence. And that was worse, it meant she didn't need to explain herself. She knew exactly what she was doing. That was when the investigation began, not by the police, but by me. Late into the night, I searched for any complaint records tied to her name. The further I dug, the more I found. She had filed more HOA complaints in 3 different neighborhoods than any other resident in the county. She had surveillance reports about her neighbors, as if she was building case files on them. And once, 12 years ago, someone had filed a restraining order against her. The next month, the person who filed it moved away. Quickly. No forwarding address. But the most unsettling thing wasn't what she did to others. It was what she had done to me. My name had appeared in scribbled notes she'd thrown out, except she hadn't shredded them properly. I pieced together the scraps. They formed a pattern, timestamps. My routines. When I woke up. When I left for work. What I bought at the grocery store. What nights I slept, with the window open. She tracked me like a case. But wrote about me like a story. A strange thought crept into my mind: what if this wasn't just harassment? What if it was attachment? Hate is a strong connection. But obsession is stronger. Obsession needs closeness. Obsession needs you to exist. One night, it rained harder than I'd seen all year. I heard a faint knock on the front porch, almost polite. I reached for a bat, expecting a delivery, but as I opened the door, I froze. It was her. Standing in the rain, drenched from head to toe. Not knocking to enter, just standing there. Watching me. We didn't speak. Not a word. But for the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Something lonelier. Something hungry. Something dangerous. I closed the door slowly. Locked it twice. Looked through the peephole. She didn't move for a full minute. Then she turned and walked back to her house with calm steps, like she knew she had already entered. That night, I didn't call the police. I couldn't explain why. Maybe part of me didn't want this to end. Maybe part of me understood why she did it. Maybe, some part of me waited for her to return. And I'm afraid of what that means. Because sometimes the stalker doesn't just invade your life. They invade your thoughts. And that is harder to escape. That I woke up one morning to find her gone. No footsteps outside. No silent watching from across the street. Her blinds were closed, her car untouched. For a moment, I thought the nightmare had ended. Maybe she finally got bored. Maybe she moved on to someone else. But then a thought crawled into my mind like poison: what if she was finished because she had everything she wanted? That's when fear felt different. Not sharp. Not sudden. Just silent. Like something waiting in the shadows that didn't need to move anymore. I took all the evidence, the footage, the text, the handwritten notes I reconstructed from her trash, straight to CID. The officer looked at the screen once and his expression froze instantly. Altering house numbers, tampering with mail routes, stalking, it was enough for an arrest warrant. They didn't ask me much. They didn't need to. The truth was already there. She had left too many fingerprints, and none of them on her own life. They moved at dawn. I heard the sirens before I saw the lights. I stepped outside, heart pounding, just in time to watch her front door open. She didn't run. She didn't deny anything. She simply stepped out into the cold morning air and raised her hands slowly, as if she had been expecting them. But she didn't look at the officers. She looked at me. There was no rage in her eyes. No fear. Just a quiet, unnerving calm. The kind you see in people who think they already know how their story ends. As they pulled her toward the car, she leaned slightly in my direction and whispered something. My name. And then this. We'll be neighbors again. Prison cells are numbered too. I didn't reply. I couldn't. They drove her away and the sound of the siren faded down the empty street. For the first time, I thought I was free. For days after, the silence felt unfamiliar. The house almost felt too quiet, like a stage after the play had ended. But the strange part was, every night, I caught myself staring out the window, toward her house. As if I was expecting her porch light to turn on. As if I was waiting, like she had been waiting for me. 2 weeks passed. I finally started to feel like my life was returning. Until I returned from work one evening and opened my mailbox. Inside was an unmarked envelope. No return address. No stamp. Just one house number cut from metal, too. Clean. Precise. Like the other one she changed. And a single line written beneath it in red ink. Our number belongs together. Where yours ends, mine begins. I looked around. The street felt emptier than it ever had before. Yet I swear I could feel her. Not physically, but somewhere in the air, lingering like a cold breath behind my ear. For a moment, I almost said her name. Softly. Quietly. As if it mattered. As if she would hear me. And that's the part one fear the most. Not that she watched me. Not that she changed my house numbers. But that a part of me wants her to return.